And now, live from downtown Amarillo, Texas, this is the Amarillo Pioneer Podcast. Here's your host and the editor of the Amarillo Pioneer, Thomas Warren.
Thank you, everyone, for listening to the Amarillo Pioneer Podcast again this evening. We're speaking with another candidate running in the May 6th election. The candidate joining us tonight is Jeff McGunegle, and he is running for mayor to replace Ginger Nelson, who is not seeking re-election. And Jeff has been working it pretty hard, and we're going to be talking all about his presence on social media, especially YouTube, and how voters can learn more about him, but the priorities he wants to tackle as well. But before we get started, Jeff, thanks so much for being with us. We really appreciate it. And how are you doing this evening?
Thanks for having me. I'm doing pretty fantastic, and looking forward to this all day.
Yeah, we've been really looking forward to speaking with you. For those who are not familiar with you, tell us a little about yourself and why you decided to run for mayor this year.
Well, I'm a complex human being with a lot of experience, so kind of tough to just kind of nutshell myself. But so I'll give it a shot. Okay. So I moved here from the Carolinas to Charlotte, North Carolina, South Carolina area about 4 years back, and actually it was a calling from God to come here. Jeff, you're to sell everything. You're moving to West Texas. And it turned out to be Amarillo or Amarillo. So I'm like, okay, I'll follow it. I go where I'm commanded to go. So I've been in Charlotte for 30 years. I've got my degrees are business at UNLV. I got a BA in psychology at University of North Carolina, Charlotte. Master's certificate in special ed from the University of North Carolina, Charlotte. They offered me a PhD program. I turned it down. I just had enough school. I'm also certified from the Brain Optimization Institute for life wellness coaching, and more importantly, consciousness coaching. I'm one of the few people in the world that can do that. So back to basically, I worked for U.S. Airways for years before leaving Vegas. That's my 20s to 30s. And I had a son. Actually, and I lost a son at 2. My other son, Clay, he developed severe autism, and just rocked my world totally. Ended up in divorce, but at the same time, I was fascinated with autism in him and how he changed and so forth. So I was like, you know what? I want to become a teacher of these kids. So I went ahead with a psych degree. I was able to go into teaching. The thing is, there is one other type of classroom that's probably more difficult or is as difficult as teaching kids with autism, and that's people with behavior disabilities. So I went into this classroom with not one day of experience, and I had to go to school at night. So I went into the fire, and I got tried and true. I got really good at it. Got really good at having Clay and so forth. Is also very trying. So I did that for about 5 years, kindergarten all the way through 9th grade. Had to leave it for a little while, worked with the Walgreens Corporation, developing a community in Anderson, South Carolina, for people with disabilities. Went back into teaching, again, middle school kids with autism, but I've taught across all disabilities, basically. And I kind of got in and out of that, but I also developed a publishing company, Integrated Publications. Adapted 10 novels for people with autism. Did that. One of the few people in the world that do that. I'm a writer. I'm a poet. I worked in the estate sales business. And the reason I went into that was about 7 years ago. I went through so much stress, emotionally and so forth, with all that had happened in my life, that actually I had a bipolar episode. A manic depression, and that actually just crashed my world. It just totally crashed my world. Had to file bankruptcy. I had an 800 credit score. It couldn't get any higher. That crashed because of the bipolar, and went into this deep depression, suicidal, so forth. I came out of that. It took me 3 years. Turned down disability because I was like, no, I can present in the world. I'm divorced. I'm a single dad of a girl. She's 25 now. So I'm a single dad. Let me see what other things I was going to tell you about. So I worked for the Brain Balance Company for a long time. So I'm a brain coach. I'm a person actually that operates equally on both sides of my brain. So a lot of times people won't even understand what I'm saying, because most of us operate on one side. So that's just a little bit about me. I also consider myself, with the life coaching, I'm a healer, a holy man healer also. Physically, I'm in great condition. This is part of taking care of my bipolar. It taught me that to be balanced, that I needed balance. So I'm always in top physical condition. I'm a vegetarian, highly spiritual. I do everything that I would teach a client in my profession. So I got here and I'm like, okay, what am I supposed to do? And we have what are called soul vocations. It's what we're here to do. Okay. You're here to be maybe a newspaper guy. Okay. But with that comes a soul mission. And I'm like, what is this soul mission? I'm in Amarillo, Texas, somewhere I don't really want to be. I don't know anybody. But it came up, okay, Jeff, after some development, you're to become the next mayor of Amarillo. And I'm like, okay. So I've been called to be the next mayor. I think you reported that I said that I felt like it was called, but I'm not feeling it. It's a calling. It's like Judge Tanner told me she has a calling to build this mental health facility. I got one of the police chiefs was telling me about, he has a calling to what he's doing. So it's not a feel, it's a thing. So that's kind of me in a nutshell. I've got, so much. My videos tell a lot more about me, but I probably left out a little bit.
Sure. No, that was great. That was great.
All right.
Well, let's just jump right into what you want to do if you're elected mayor. Tell us about some of the priorities that voters can expect you to tackle in your first term.
Well, the first thing that started coming up was a really weird situation, was that I've been here for 2.5 years total. I was here half a year, went to Lubbock a year, voted down there, then came back. And I've been here 2.5 years. Well, in those 2.5 years, I've been bitten by a dog. I've been charged by 2 pit bulls. Then I was walking a dog, and twice I was attacked by a pair of dogs, and then a German Shepherd. So it's kind of like, what is going on in this city? So I started looking into it, and then I uncovered there's a 50-year, 5-decade problem with stray animals, killer dogs running the streets, and stray cats and dogs. So actually, I started looking at that and gathering, and actually, I've been working on that. I've been working on that since I started the mayor thing. I'm on the outside of it, but I'm kind of like, I can affect that from the inside much greater from the outside. And I went to the council and I said, hey, you guys, you got a black cloud over your head, and each one of you guys needs a legacy. So why don't you take care of this problem, or just throw out a mass campaign of awareness of this problem, because it's ingrained right now. So that's a big, I think there needs to be something like that gets done when we come in. But beyond that, my main 3 things are basically, the big one I talk about is establishing a standard of excellence for the city. There's this unspoken standard of mediocrity. And if you set a goal, you set a standard of excellence, you've got something to reach to. There's nothing to reach to here. There's really just no overall broad goal. But at the same time, the city does not have an identity. It's had identities over time, but it lost it. And it's trying to find it. I know what it is. But at this point in time, I'm waiting for 2045 to figure that out. But I'm waiting to see if the people can tell. And I'm waiting to see if it's not revealed by the time I'm not going to reveal it unless I'm voted in. It's kind of like that. Because I look at myself as really kind of like a consultant. I mean, I have no skin in the game here, but I've been called. And when you get called from the highest, I give everything I got. I mean, anybody you can talk with that knows me in the past, I've given every ounce I've got. I mean, I'm going to give 28 hours a day to this for 2 years, and 2 years is it. but I'm giving everything to the people here. I'm not working, I'm not doing anything. I'm committed to this. But then, okay, so the standard of excellence has to happen. And I threw it out in my interview the other day with Inspire. It's up to Amarillo. Do you want the people? Do you guys want a standard of mediocrity and stay with that and stay small? Or do you want to be grand and have this standard of excellence? It's up to you. You vote me in, that's what we're going to look at. So the next thing, there's 3 parts. Actually, there's 4 parts to that excellence. And it's the first part of it, without getting into detail, is to wake up to that's mediocrity. The next thing is the cleanup. There's so much to clean up, including, and it's outward and inward. I'm the inside out mayor. We've got to clean up our own lives first. But at the same time, all the things that people tell me about, the garbage and so forth, it's just nasty. And then you clean up, then you grow up. There's a lot of people that haven't grown up, and this is countrywide. But you know what? I've got people watching us in Europe, South America, and they watch the city council meetings. You know what they tell me, Jeff? It's like 5 children up there in adult suits. It's to them, it's a joke, especially the folks in Sweden. I'm not saying this, okay? These are highly, highly intelligent, spiritual people that are telling me this. And I don't know. Anyway, and then you show up. You grow up, and then you can show up. You can't show up in the world and shine in the world unless you've grown up. You can't make mistakes. You can't say stupid things. So that's at the tip of it. My second part is children's well-being, especially education. You know, I've taught kids for years, and I love kids. And if you want an excellent city, you got to have excellent schools with excellent kids. And I've been in the schools. I was in schools in Lubbock. I was here. I was subbing, but then I spent 5 months in a school, and I'm just like, wow, it's not getting done. It boils down to a dehumanization of children, and we've all had it. We're lesser than adults. That's the way children are addressed, and that's a dehumanization. That changes the ballgame big time just by that. But I've got a 5-point plan for the school system, but I'm not revealing that either, unless they want that change, because I know AISD is not part of the mayor's deal, but it is. It is. And I tell you what, I was heartbroken. I raised a girl, daddy's little girl. So I go in the schools with these I did 1st through 5th grade, and I'd have these girls, their dads were in prison, single moms. It was just heartbreaking. It's just downright heartbreaking. And so I'm about those, because they don't have protectors. They the chance of getting in trouble is huge. That's a big focus with me, and that's the future. I don't know. We need a Department of Children like Marianne Williamson talks about. So that's that's part 2 with me. But underneath all this is mental health. And with a mental health condition, I understand mental health. I understand the system. I've been inside. It's not health. It's like a place to get away, and it's not even a good vacation, which is kind of ought to be. But everyone right now is affected by mental health. Everyone's dealing with anxiety. Everyone's dealing with depression. There's more people with bipolar, including kids, which blows my mind. Schizophrenia. It's, you're homeless. They're all dealing with some kind of mental health condition, some mental health issue, mental health challenge. It's kind of why we're at. It's kind of why, if we're not cleaning up, there's a mental health deal. That's a mental health deal. And that's what I understand more than anything is mental health. And to clean up, we've got to have nutrition. We've got to have physical activity. We've got to have sleep. We've got to have those needs met, but it's not a top priority. I mean, toot and toad, I see more people drinking Cokes and so forth. And, if you got a mental health condition, you can't drink a soda. You can't. You can't have sugar. You can't have alcohol if you want to maintain it. In every mental health condition, it's about balance. And that's the thing about me too. I may be the first bipolar mayor that's coming out in the whole country. And there is the thing about mental health. I talked to the judge about this, Judge Tanner, at a meeting, and there's a huge stigma about it. And we're all dealing with it, but there's a stigma. So if I go to get a job, or any of us go to get a job, we can't put on our application bipolar, clinical depression. We can't do that. We can't do it. But the part of the process of mental health coming into the mainstream, and as it comes to the mainstream, we can all get help. There has to be people that step out, and there's celebrities that step out and say, I've got this. I've got this. And then they function with it. And that's what I'm going to do. Because this whole comes down for people. It doesn't, to me, it's for the general population, it's not as much about policies. It's about that person that has been in my shoes, that can relate to me, that I can, and then the trust and confidence builds in that person. I think everybody in these interviews talks about this. We all want the same thing. We all want quality of life. We want quality of life for the elders. We want quality of life for the children. We want quality of life for everybody. We want great parks. We want a great city. But there has to be this solid health. And you know what? If you've got bad health, it affects your brain, and that's mental health. So it's everywhere. So let me see if that kind of, but yeah, for me too, people can say whatever they want about me. I'm gonna show actually that people need to grow up. And a big part of that is when they say, oh, McGuneagle's got the bipolar mayor, the crazy mayor, the whatever they're going to call me. Is that grown up? Is that mature? Get comments on Facebook and so forth about tearing me down. Is that mature? No, those people need to clean up and grow up. Otherwise, they're not showing up. They can't show up. So so I'm a transparent guy. I love questions. I love the deeper, the better. And I tell you what, it's like, if you're going to come at me with anything, be prepared, because I'm what's called a Sigma male, and I prepare, and I'm deep with it, and it's swept by a tsunami. So be ready. It's kind of like stuff, but it's fun. So.
Well, I don't have.
I'm not.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. Go ahead. No, I'm fine.
Oh.
I'm just saying that it's just what I've developed in my life. That's the way I roll. It's like life is so darn meaningful to me. That's the thing. It's so darn meaningful. That's why kids love me. I can bring meaning to anything and everything. So, the deeper it gets, the better.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Well, let's jump into a couple of issues really quick, and then we'll get into the fun stuff.
Okay. All right.
I want to ask you about the Civic Center, because that's the issue that everybody's talking about this year.
Right.
I'm sure you've already heard about it. You've heard about the lawsuit. You talk to a lot of people, though, in the city, and they still say, we've got to do something about the Civic Center. So if you get elected, is the Civic Center going to be a priority? And if so, how are you going to go about doing it?
This Alex Fairley and I are kind of on our similar pages. Because one thing I was kind of like, I think the city needs 2 years to reevaluate everything, to get the identity, to start building the infrastructure for the tourism, because this place is a tour. The stuff I can see with it, it's a tourism gold mine. Where it's located. There's just so much to it, and I think part of it is, are there, some people say they need another convention center thing down between here and Canyon, and I don't know. But I think there has to be this stepping back to look to see if we want to be an excellent city, and just look what the infrastructure is like, fortify the city if things get bad. But you still have to go forward with the Civic Center deal. I've actually contacted folks that I'm one that's like, what is unique? Everything's got something unique about it. And I've been in there once for a Kansas concert, but I didn't really get to look at it. So I need to really go in there. But I'm going to take a couple of people that are like sound experts and so forth, and architects, to see what is so unique about the place that can make it only Amarillo's Civic Center is where you can come for this sound. I'm not quite sure, but so it seems like there's a lot of places for concerts, and there's the Pavilion Place, the Civic Center, the Arena. It's like there's a lot of places. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. I think it's a back burner thing. It's really a back burner thing. I think there's a lot of great entertainment I'm finding out here in town. I mean, you got the Harlem Globetrotters here the other day, all kinds of good stuff. So, but no, it's not a priority. It's not a priority. But it's overall in the let's look at it.
I want to ask you about the zoo, because I know you did a video about the animal issue. You kind of brought that up a few minutes ago about all the stray dogs and cats in Amarillo. Yeah. And I watched the video you did about the zoo a while back, about someone reached out to you about that. Can you just kind of tell us, I know that in an interview Alex Fairley did for Inspire, they kind of talked about how at one point there was a concern that we could lose the zoo without the right funding. Do you have a position on the zoo issue that you'd like to share with folks listening?
I haven't been to the zoo yet, but since I got a black panther, and that's one of my favorite animals, I'm like, I got to go there. And I've had more than one person talk to me about it. That person that did reach out is kind of like, it's kind of like, if you've got a zoo, let's make it something special. So yeah, I think it's necessary. I think it's necessary to have some kind of, if it's not a zoo, can we create a sanctuary with all the space that includes the zoo? I know some people say with that being at that Thompson Park, it limits the expansion of it with the golf course and so forth. So it's definitely something, it can be part of that tourist attraction. I think there can be so much tourism coming in. And I mean, who doesn't love a zoo, man?
Everybody loves the zoo. You're right.
Yeah.
Well, so we've kind of
attached a circus to it, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we've kind of changed things up this year a little. In the past, we've done these interviews and we've spent, 45 minutes or an hour just hammering you with policy questions. And that's great.
Yeah.
I love it. But the truth is people want to really get to know who you are.
Right.
And so we have a few get-to-know-you questions we're going to ask tonight. Hopefully give folks a better idea of who Jeff McGunegle is when he's not running for mayor. Does that sound good?
Sure. Hey, yeah, that's a big piece. That's how I do my videos. I want them, I'm going to show you what books I'm reading. I like to know who I'm dealing with.
Sure. Well, let's just jump right into it then. The very first question, what's your favorite thing about Amarillo?
The skies, right? The skies and the layout of it. I mean, the things that really popped for me when I first came here was I'd go to school in the morning and I would come over these vistas, and all of a sudden I have this huge space with this sky, and so that's it's so unique to where I was coming from. So that, if anything, it would be the nature of it. The nature of it, I'd say.
Well, aside from that, what is your favorite restaurant in Amarillo, and what's your go-to order when you go there?
My favorite restaurant is going to be, I kind of get between two. It's Thai food, Bangkok, Thailand, or Palace, and it's always pad Thai, typically. I used to do it spicy, but I don't do it anymore. It's a little bit different than we had in the Carolinas. Or there's a chicken place. It's a Hispanic chicken or Mexican chicken place at the corner of Bell and 40. Can't think of the name of it. But it's across from the car wash there, and it's Chirianos is what I go for. Yeah.
What is something interesting about you that the people out there listening might not know?
Oh. Well, you didn't get enough in the last one.
You can pick something else, yeah.
Okay, well, a huge part of me is you can call me in spiritual circles, a highly attained spiritual person. I've got a high spiritual IQ, which is, most people aren't familiar with that. There's 10 intelligences, and one of them is spirituality. But growing up, my family was not religious per se, but I was confirmed in the Lutheran Church. But going through the crisis that I went through in North Carolina, I was spending time in a Christian church. But then I met a place in the road where, was I going to traverse the Buddhist path or the Christian path? And I had a clear knowing for the next 7 years I would traverse the Buddhist path, the Mahayana Buddhist path. And then, so I consider myself, and a lot of people won't understand this, but they will over time, but I would consider myself a Buddhist Christian. And being the Buddhist part of it Buddhism is of the mind, and in a way of life, an eightfold way of living. So I live by that. So it's like the framework for my Christian life. And there's, it sounds odd, but there are priests, there are many Catholic priests, Protestant ministers that actually follow Buddhism, like as to enhance their Christianity, because Buddhism it's a way of life. It's different from Christianity. So if anything, that would be something people need to know about me, and it helps me actually to relate more to our Asian population, that I can understand where they're coming from. So yeah, that would be a big part of me. Yeah.
Sure. For those listening who are undecided, they're going, I just have so many choices for mayor, I don't know who I'm going to pick yet. Would you mind just taking a minute and giving us a quick elevator pitch? Why are you the guy who needs to be Amarillo's next mayor?
I'm the guy that needs to be Amarillo's next mayor because I'm kind of like Donald Trump. Okay, don't paint me Donald Trump. Okay, well, paint me Donald Trump in a certain way, but I'm the outsider. I'm the outsider who's coming in to show folks to wake people up. To wake people up to what they have, and wake people up to the ugliness, wake people up to the excellence, wake people up to the mediocrity. It's one thing, looking across all 23 of us, there's just a couple more that have much experience outside of Amarillo. The thing about what happens with that is you become short-sighted. It's great to be here and to claim your loyalty to the city, but you become short-sighted. You may think something's great, but I'm coming in from Charlotte and I'm going like, wow, that's not great, you guys. It can be so much more. So if anything, and actually even when I met Frida, we talked briefly, and she said, you kind of have an advantage, right? I said, you've got an advantage. You've been on the inside. And she said, well, you've got kind of advantage because you're coming from the outside. So that, and also that I'm the inside out mayor, and that, you know what? I'm looking to vote for the people. I'm looking for the people. If you can't be excellent in what you're doing for the city, I'm not voting for you. And I don't want your vote. If you can't have an excellent television station, I don't want your vote. If you're not going to strive for it, and I should say strive for it. If you're not interested in striving for excellence, I don't want your vote. I really don't. Because it tells me that you just don't want what I bring. That I'm assigned to bring. So
sure.
Would that sway you?
That's great.
Thomas?
For those who want to donate or get a yard sign or knock on doors or just do something to get Jeff McGunegle elected as mayor, how can they go about doing that?
Right. Hey, I've signed where I'm not taking donations. I'm going to do this old school, man. And that's part of this thing is this guy with no experience coming out of nowhere, taking no donations. Basically, I can take up to $900, and I've got one donor right now that gave me $100. I could take $900. I'm gonna on my Facebook page. I'm starting maybe 2 or 3 days a week. I'm gonna have talks at the Unity Spiritual Center, 2224. I can't think of the street. It's the Unity Spiritual Center. I'll think of it. But I'll be doing those like 2.5 hours. Just drop by and get to know me. I'm not doing yard signs. One of the things in the 2010 2025 Amarillo plan, they said there's too many signs in this town. There's too many signs. They said that it creates ugliness in this city. So I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to put up a bunch of signs. To me, I walk down the street and I got to see somebody with a yard full of signs. I'm going like, that's ugly, man. And they're going to be there for 2.5 months. So I'm just not doing that. I'm not. I mean, I'm just not doing that anymore. But if I tell you what, though, watch my videos, come see me or whatever. If you're all fired up about me becoming the mayor, do your own T-shirts, whatever. That's fine. I'll let you use the McGunegle. I don't know if you see my McGunegle character. Start a movement in the city for me, for what you want, but it's not going to be me. It's not going to be me recruiting people.
Well, Jeff McGunegle, we really appreciate you being with us tonight. For those who are listening, May 6th.
I had fun, man. I had fun.
Yeah, no, it's been a great time. But, May 6th is just around the corner, and you still,
I hear you.
Yeah, still have some time to make decisions, but you need to be making some choices, and I'm glad we got to know Jeff a little better tonight. But either way, Jeff, we really appreciate it. We wish you all the best on the campaign.
One thing about that, May 6th?
No, tell me.
I'm a visionary, okay? What I see is Cole and I running off in June. Okay? That's what I see.
Sure.
So, just to throw that out there.
So you need to go vote for Jeff in May, then vote for him in June too, is what he's saying.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just saying June runoff, so we got that coming.
That's going to get real fun.
Yeah.
Get real fun.
Well, Jeff, we really appreciate you being with us. We wish you all the best on the campaign, sir.
Appreciate that, man. Yeah. Really appreciate it.